Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast. I said welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast with Andy Ruther and Joe Prano. Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast.
Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Andy Ruther, coming to you live from Cincinnati, Ohio, with my co-host from Port Hueneme, California, Joey No Chill Prano.
Hello, Andy.
Good morning. It's been a week.
I know. No show Thursday. We talked about Friday. We pushed it again, and I said, "Oh, I guess Saturday." And you're like, "There's Monday." I was like, "Yeah, you're probably right." There's a lot of things on the rundown, but I said nothing that's not going to still be fresh on Monday. Also, free agency has kicked off. We're officially getting some free agent signings, or at least agreement in terms.
There's a lot going on.
Here we are.
We got
the internet over the week. I mean, literally since the show, the internet has caught up with me and my basketball opinions. The whole world, everybody decided we no longer care about 90s basketball. And I'm like, oh, God, I've been waiting for this day my whole life. I've been waiting for this day since 1999.
Did that just happen?
It's like, I think it was last week that somebody coined the phrase, "We done with the 90s."
Yeah, I mean it's everywhere, and the video that I really enjoy that actually shout out to Works with Wolves old intern Aaron Moharis sent the 3-point competition with Michael Jordan in the 90s.
Was that in the 90s or was that in the 80s?
The caption said 90s. It looks like 80s.
Yeah, I think it was 80s, but it's the same. It's the same thing.
This is pretty fun. I'm going to pull this up. So Jordan in the 3-point competition had 5 points. And somebody added the brick sound when he misses.
I love it.
Which makes it even funnier.
That's one. That's two. He misses all money balls. Boom.
Yeah, misses
because he's clutch, Andy. You know, the thing about Michael Jordan is when it matters the most, he always hits.
I mean, just bricking. And I get this is just one thing, but
yeah. But also, you know what's funny? It's like, oh, if he had played in a time where the 3-pointer, it's like this is the 3-point contest. It's not like it's from a time of like it was enough of a thing that there was a contest happening.
And isn't the 3-point line a lot farther up?
Then?
Yeah.
Not then, but there was a
What's the sound on it, the guy in the
I don't
background?
know. There's a guy talking at the end. I thought that was you.
No.
I believe it was 2 seasons in the NBA. It might have been
boy ass.
It might have been 3 seasons in the NBA, but Michael was only there for 2 of them, perhaps 2 or 3 seasons in the NBA when they moved the 3-point line in, and then they moved it back out. They moved it so it was a basically the same distance as it is in the corners now.
Gotcha.
All the way around.
Well, even like when you watch that video, guys get their shot off so quick now. It looks like Jordan shooting in slow-mo. I know it's a little different because it's a 3-point contest, but just everything is just so slow. It's crazy. And I feel that way when I watch football, right? Like you watch a football clip from the 90s, you're like,
Yeah.
what the fuck is, you're like, what the fuck is this shit?
Yeah. But the thing about watching old clips too is like those guys, the Michael Jordans, the Deion Sanders, the whatever, those guys stand out. You're like, holy shit. Why is Deion Sanders running in hyperspeed and everybody else is in mud? And then now it's just everybody is Deion. Everybody is Michael Jordan, except for LeBron James, who's Thanos. But it's, it just makes me so happy. Basically, what we done with the 90s trend was somebody just going back and watching. I love it, by the way, like so many things. Michael Jordan's being called the right hand bandit.
That's hilarious.
90s trash. Like I was like, yeah, guys, I've been saying this forever. And I'm sure you saw the video that I posted about it, which is essentially all the people who are upset are the ones responsible for this. They started this trend because in the 90s, when Jordan had won 3 championships and was retiring, everybody was like, there he is. There goes the greatest player of all time. And, Bob Ryan from the Boston Globe was like, fucking Bill Russell's got 11 and 13 years. And then, Michael Jordan fans watched clips of Bill Russell, watched clips of Bob Cousy looking like he was doing a fucking Globetrotters clip. Nobody shooting jump shots. No one dribbling, no one even crossing over their dribble. Just like whichever hand you're dribbling with, you stay dribbling with. And they're like, get the fuck out of here. We done with the 60s. We're not doing that shit. We're comparing what Michael Jordan's doing in today's NBA to Bob Cousy. Get fucked. And they're 100% right, which is exactly how LeBron fans, young kids, are now discovering that 90s basketball was fucking trash. And
well, it wasn't trash. It was.
Well, first of all, the 90s basketball was worse. Here's the thing. It was worse than 80s basketball because they expanded and they didn't have the talent for expansion because nobody was coming over from overseas. Now you could have more teams than you have now because we're getting talent from so many places. And there was a time in the NBA where if a guy just like was 6'10" and somebody discovered him, they were like, what happened? He's like, I'm just a kid who's 6'10". And they're like, you ever played basketball? He's like, no, I had a late growth spurt and now I'm 6'10". And they're like, do you want to learn to play basketball in the NBA? And he's like, what? Do you want to make a couple $100,000 a year learning to play basketball for the first time? There was a fucking era of the NBA where like, if you were 7 feet tall, you just were the first overall pick.
Sean Bradley, second pick.
Yeah. There's one guy. Do you see this kid at the University of the Pacific? He's 7'1". He can't play basketball. We'll figure it out. Take him 1 overall.
That's true.
And it was bad basketball compared to today. Bad. That's what I also joked last night. The 79-73 Knicks Sixers game was like watching a fucking slow motion car crash. It was like watching Austin Powers get run over by the fucking, the fucking whatever the fuck it's called in slow motion where he gets fucking run over. No. Meanwhile, Jordan fans just jacking off to 79-73 basketball. No one can hit a jump shot. It fucking gets my dick hard.
I never thought about the 7-foot thing. It was true. So you had Sean Bradley, who literally went on a Mormon mission.
Yeah.
Let's not forget, he left, did not even play basketball because he was Mormon, right? Was he BYU or was he Utah?
BYU.
Left the country, did a mission, came back, was still, I believe, like a top 5. I think he was the number 2 pick.
Yeah.
Who was the guy?
Meanwhile, the guys his size now are shooting threes and dribbling the basketball. Sean Bradley didn't dribble the basketball 4 consecutive times at any point in his basketball career.
He was the second pick. Michael Olawokandi. Who was the number 1 pick by the? Michael Olowokandi. Yep, he's your Pacific guy. Drafted number 1 overall by the Clippers. Again, 7 feet.
Then there was the kid from GW. Remember that kid?
Inkadare.
Yeah.
How you like that rug nug?
That's a good pull.
You remember who he was drafted by?
It's the Nets.
Good. Yeah, the Nets. You're right. Another one. First round pick. Oh, he's 7 foot. He can play basketball.
Pronounced Yinkadare. It was Dare. The other team was like, Yinka, dare you to shoot. You're fucking terrible, dog.
Of course, Manute Bol.
Yep.
Yeah, man. The 90s had
George
a lot
Murasan.
of George Murasan. There were
They're
a
just
lot
like, you're tall. And he's like, what about it?
The
They're
90s.
like, do you want to play basketball? What is basketball?
It's nuts. So many bad 7-footers who never played basketball, just they got drafted.
I love it. It's my favorite thing. And you know what my favorite part about it is? The Jordan fans are just getting buried alive, and their counter. I don't know if you've seen this, Andy, is they've decided that LeBron James is on steroids.
Oh, I've seen that.
I love this. This is my favorite thing ever.
You know who's pushing it too?
Who's that? Tripoli?
Yeah, Sam Tripoli.
Yeah, that was a guess, but I have not seen Tripoli pushing it, but I assumed. You know what I love about that? We have reached the LeBron James is so good at basketball, he must be cheating point of his career. You
knew that was going to happen.
Yeah. The idea that he's like la flop, a bitch, a choker, all that. Now they're just like, it can't be real. Michael Jordan has become the right-hand bandit, and LeBron James has become so good he must be cheating. This is the greatest week of my life.
I mean, look, who knows? Maybe he's on something. I don't know. I think a lot of guys are on something, don't really care.
Yeah.
It's still, the dude's almost 40 and he's in his 20th season. So, like, what are we talking about here? You know? I mean, Tom Brady, again, was drinking the blood of children. Yeah. They continue playing the NFL up to 45.
Directly
but
from their veins. He had to kill them and suck it.
But he still looked great. You know, like, I don't care. He still looked great at the end. He's still winning Super Bowls. Do you want to hear the late breaking news?
Yeah.
You want to hear it?
Oh, God.
Kirk Cousins is a new team.
Atlanta Falcons.
Yes, sir.
I love it. You talk about a guy. Dude, the Kirk Cousins. If we had an ESPN network, Andy, if ESPN had a production team, I'd have fucking DJ Sizzle making a graphic of Kirk Cousins in a bandit outfit with the fucking Zorro mask heisting, where he goes like bink, 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 and he goes to the fucking Redskins, give me your money. And then bink, 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 walks over to the fucking Vikings, give me your money. And then he goes over to the Falcons, bink, 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 give me your money. And then he walks away with fucking 3 bags with different fucking team logos on them.
So, I mean, this is literally breaking like now, last 10 minutes. Poor boy, Adam Schefter. It's a 4-year deal. I don't see any money listed yet, but we all know it's going to be a lot. Man, he's fleeced so many teams.
I'm sure Kirk Cousins will get them over the hump, though. They're probably going to be really good.
Yeah, they will. They'll go.
They're definitely
they'll go 12-5
not
and lose in the first round.
I was going to say they're definitely not going to have like a inflated record in a terrible division and get butt fucked in a home game in January. Definitely not going to happen.
That's great for Vikings fans, though. You guys can move on, man.
Thank God. And you know what? Here's what I'm expecting, Andy, and this will be a nice transition into your segue into your boy signing with Pittsburgh. But it's time, guys. It's time, all you Vikings fans, all you fucking like absolute brainwashed, ludicrous, lost your goddamn minds for 5 years, Vikings fans. It's time for you to go the way of the Seattle fans when Russ finally left. It's time for you have been freed. You have escaped the prison. Stop, remove yourself from the Stockholm syndrome. When I got the 20 tweets from Seattle fans being like, you were right the whole time. Bundy 56. It's time. Come out of the coffin. Like Dracula. Come back to life. All you delusional Vikings fans, it's time for you to just, where's Gramps? Come on, guys. It's time for you to, you're free. You don't have to do this anymore. Your abusive husband has left the building.
Well, obviously they're going to have to completely probably kind of restart in a way offensively. I mean, they will, but
will they? They've got Justin Jefferson. They've got the exact same team. They last year, these absolute crackheads had talked themselves into fucking Josh Dobbs. Just get a fucking regular old veteran quarter. But here's the thing. When he comes in and he plays well with, a top 3 receiver in football, indoors, on turf, the whole thing, like, you don't need to say, this guy's underrated. This guy deserves all the money. Also, you don't have to, here's what the Vikings definitely should not do. Okay? The Vikings definitely should not, go make Tyler Heineke the highest paid quarterback in football. Like, don't do it, guys. You don't have to do this. Don't be like, oh, fucking the Jets, man. They don't know what they have in Zach Wilson. Don't go giving Zach Wilson top 6 money and guarantee him for the next. Don't do it. You don't need to do this. Don't go trading for Kyler Murray and fucking giving him. You don't. Just you went with Josh Dobbs off a trash heap. Just get like a regular old veteran quarterback to come play.
Yeah, but there's not too many of those. That's the thing. There's not the old regular old quarterback. I mean, who's out there? You want to go Jameis Winston?
Honestly, the Vikings fans deserve it. You deserve Jameis Winston. You know why? Because you'll talk yourselves into that too. You'll be like, look at what he's done to our offense. Holy shit, we're throwing for so many fucking yards.
I do like the Russ move to the Steelers.
I know you do.
What is there not to like about it?
Well, there's nothing not to like about it in terms of.
Did you see how much they're paying him?
Yeah, because they're getting him cheap because he's still getting $38 million, I believe, from the Broncos for the season.
He's getting $39 million from the Broncos. The Steelers are only going to have to pay him $1.21 million.
And it's a 1-year deal.
It's a 1-year deal.
So it's fantastic. And it is the Russ situation. Play some defense, run the football, play action. It's a great situation for Russ. Now, when he's like 8% better than the Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph combo, just like, you guys might be a playoff team with them.
You made the playoffs last year.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely might be a playoff team with him. I don't know if you're winning a playoff game, but he gives you a better opportunity to do that. But this isn't, you're at best the third best team in the division still, wouldn't you say?
Depending on the moves.
Yeah, it's early.
I don't know, but here's my thing on Russ. his ego was so out of control, and it still probably is. He needs to be humbled. Now, the Denver
Well, I think
thing,
a 1 year, $1.2 million deal is humbling.
maybe.
They didn't even say Russ is good enough. We know like you talk about Russell's resume and all the stats and all the wins and stuff like that. Like, there is an opportunity here for the Steelers to have been like, you want $6 million for 3 years, because it looks like the Broncos got to pay some of this money. Like, it's not like he's going to be broke. So they were like, 1 year, show me deal.
But I don't know if that humbles. I think he's so.
Well, he's insanely delusional for sure.
But not only that, he's one of those guys who's just so far up his own ass. Again, he's got no people around him to say no. It's all yes people around Russ. But I think here's why I think it's great. Beyond, there's no money. And again, if he can do old Russ, which to be honest, this last year was kind of old Russ. He didn't have like a Steelers defense though to back it, at least not for the first however many games. I think Mike Tomlin is the ego check type guy. Right? I mean, he was voted, whether it's right or wrong, in that NFLPA poll or athletic poll, whatever it was, he was the number one guy that players want to play for. My point is he has earned that respect and he's viewed that way. I also don't think Russ walks in, and we all know they've been known for their defense. I don't see a TJ Watt putting up with that shit, is my point.
Right.
Like,
but also there's so many layers to it when you sign a quarterback with a big deal. Obviously, it's less money to go around, but also there's you have to justify the money, right? Like, that was the thing with the Steelers, the Seahawks, is not only did they not have money to pay the guys that made them a winning team, but now they spend all this money on Russ. They have to justify it. Let Russ cook.
Yeah.
Now you don't have to justify anything. You come in here, we play defense, we run the ball. Don't fucking turn it over. Don't turn it over. Don't turn it over. Just don't turn the ball over. And it's not like he's a huge turnover guy. Obviously the toughest thing with Russ has always been, in my opinion, the holding of the ball, but they have had pretty mediocre quarterback play the last few years, even going into the last years of Ben Roethlisberger. So this is an improvement for them, no doubt about it. But I don't think it just suddenly, even with their defense, I don't think it suddenly like hoists them into, AFC contention.
No, I'm not saying that, but their division, we all know how hard that division is. Even with the mediocre play, right? I'm saying the Steelers beating, I mean, the numbers don't lie. Like, they swept the Bengals this year.
Yeah.
They split the Ravens. Like, I forget what they did against the Browns, but my point is, for sure, it's an upgrade. And I think, competition will be good. Whatever they do with Pickett, he's right there if Russ plays bad. So he has pressure.
And I'll be totally honest with you. I'm just glad it wasn't my team, because it was the same trip, which we all obviously know about the Giants Steelers link. I will tell you the message I sent to my brother and our friend. Sent it the other day when it was announced that he was hitting the Giants on the way to the Steelers. I said, I feel like I just need to say this so I can't be accused post-mortem of not letting you know. If we sign Russell Wilson, I'll hang myself from the closest overpass to MetLife live on Instagram. So thankfully that did not occur.
A little dramatic there.
A little dramatic, but also, good for views. Content.
Well, I got more content for you. Speaking of your Giants. Your running back is headed to your rival.
No fucking way.
According to Adam Schefter, he has reached a 3-year, $37.75 million contract with $26 million guaranteed with the Eagles.
Yep. That's a fucking train wreck. This is exactly what you don't want, because I think Saquon Barkley is elite. And I think, here comes the text. Oh, yep, it's my brother sharing it. I think that it's just that simple. Like, I think Saquon Barkley has been scapegoated by Giants fans. I think underrated by the league. This is all the things I've been talking about with, like, whoa, what do you think we should do? Blah, 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 blah. It's like stop judging guys based on their statistics alone, when Saquon Barkley, for the better part of his career, is getting hit before he gets to the line of scrimmage. I think he is going to absolutely fucking, be a fantasy superstar in Philadelphia. And I think he's going to haunt us the entire time he's there. And he's going to score 1,000 touchdowns against the Giants. And I'm fucking miserable about it.
Yeah, see, I don't exactly feel the same way. I mean, he's good. I don't value the running back. I'm like most of these GMs. I just don't value them as much anymore. Now, they can really be valued a la Christian McCaffrey in a system like that. Now, if Saquon is in that system, like McCaffrey, he's phenomenal. Don't get me wrong. Saquon's a great running back. I shouldn't say good. He's a great running back. But
I think it's going to be, that system is spread the ball all over the place, blah, blah. I think this is going to be a way more straightforward Saquon running the ball down people's throats system. Now, he can catch the ball. We all know that. He's going to be able to catch the ball out of the backfield. But I think this is a Jalen Hurts, RPO. We're going to do that whole fucking thing, and he's going to run it down people's throats. Because their offensive line is significantly better than the Giants' offensive line. Now, they lost Kelsey, and that's going to fucking hurt them. But, like, they're going to move the ball. They're going to, like, look at the guys that they signed the last couple of years who all of a sudden had great running seasons.
yeah. No, I see that.
I'm miserable.
Well, you can't allow that to happen to your division rival. You know what I'm saying? It'd be like T. Higgins ending up on the Steelers. You're like, what? Since he demanded that trade, you're like, what? You went to or the Browns. You're like, how do you let this guy go in your division? He's gonna play against you. I mean, these moves are happening all over the place. Tony Pollard to the Titans, so they'll obviously get rid of Derrick Henry.
Yep.
DeAndre Swift to the Bears. Josh Jacobs to the Packers.
Mm-hmm. Which is interesting for them. Is what's his name going anywhere, or they're just adding running back depth?
I think Dylan's gone, and I think they're going to keep him and Aaron Jones.
Great.
Like a nice little 1-2 combo.
Yeah.
Especially with a young QB, man, to have a running game.
And they ran the fuck out of the ball down the stretch.
And they did it great and effective. Yeah, man. This stuff is, things are moving. I got Shefty up here on my
I'm beside myself about Saquon.
But you knew you weren't going to keep him.
Well,
right?
I mean, there's the idea. So weirdly, the Giants didn't tag Anybody?
Sorry, man. The Kirk Cousins money was just tweeted by Shefty. Jesus. The Falcons are giving Cousins a 4-year, $180 million deal with $100 million guaranteed, $45 million average per year. It's amazing.
Over under. Ready? Over under playoff games won by Kirk Cousins in the 4-year deal.
Set the line at 1.5.
He has one in his career.
I know. Set the line at 1.5. I'm going to go under.
Okay. Set the line at half. You going
go
over?
I'm going to say.
Do you think he wins one playoff game in the next 4 years?
I'll give him one. Yeah, I think he'll win one. Solely, again, they are in a weak division. You can win the division. It does help to get a home playoff game. Now, obviously, it didn't help against the Giants, but NFC's weak. I don't know what they've done to just trick all these people into throwing just $100 million at him. And if you watch The Quarterback on Netflix and you see how big of a dork he is, that would make me less prone to give the guy money.
It's amazing to me because my hatred of Kirk Cousins is because of his defenders, but my my analysis of Kirk Cousins is based on the years where the Giants weren't very good and he's on Washington and just going like, well, at least we get to play Kirk Cousins twice a year. Not afraid of Kirk Cousins. If we get to Kirk Cousins twice in the first quarter, the wheels will come off. Kirk Cousins will start laying down. Kirk Cousins will start throwing the ball to us. And it's just like the world where it's amazing that more professional football executives don't go, well, our goal is winning a Super Bowl. So why don't we just take all of Kirk Cousins' stats and throw them in the trash and just look at Kirk Cousins versus like top 12 defenses / Kirk Cousins in December and January. And just go, that's really football, right? Like, you know, like if your goal here is to find a quarterback, you're like, hey, we don't know where our franchise is going, but we just need a quarterback. Okay, cool. Then you can go, I want a guy who has potential upside. I have a guy who's might grow into a player. I want a guy who we can get at this much money because then we're able to do this. I want a guy like that's a whole other thing. But if you're spending $180 million, your goal is to win the Super Bowl. So like, why don't you just look at what a guy like Kirk Cousins does against good teams or in the playoffs? Why don't you look at what like Kirk Cousins does while he's pressured?
Well, that would make sense. I think from a human element, a lot of these guys in their egos think, oh, we can get to work here. Even though the evidence says otherwise. The evidence says, no, you can't. The statistical evidence, in fact, completely contradicts that. But guys in their egos say, no, we can get to work here. I don't know. It's wild to think that he would just continue to get all that money. Again, like, you know me, I'm to the point, all I give a shit is the playoffs now. That's all I care about as a fan, as rating players, especially quarterbacks. That's like all I care about. It's all I care about. And we have a call which we could play, which kind of talks about that. They really want to know where you and I would sit with our top three. And to me, it all goes back to quarterbacks. Or, I'm sorry, it all goes back to playoffs. Quarterbacks. Right. So I'm sorry. It all goes back to, how are we ranking these guys? And I'm saying playoffs. I'll just play it. It's more towards what you were saying about Lamar, but it fits into this conversation.
Hey guys, this is Dirtball Rob calling here. I'm calling on behalf of the Most Overrated Athletes episode you guys did that just last week. Thought it was a really cool idea. I did want to call on Joe's point of Lamar Jackson being on the list. I don't necessarily disagree with Lamar's placement on the list, although I do think that Joe made an interesting point there. You mentioned how Lamar, considering him a top 3 quarterback, is offensive. I think that's the term you used. And that got me thinking. I mean, you obviously have Mahomes, you got Burrow. My question is, who's the third guy? Because the way I look at it, I mean, I think Josh Allen's really the only guy that really has a case. And a lot of the points we mentioned about Lamar and style of play, needing to run to be successful, not getting all that far in the postseason, you kind of look at Josh Allen to a lesser degree. That's kind of his style of play as well. You know, he needs to run to be successful. And the farthest he's ever gotten in the postseason was the AFC Championship game to Lamar. Sorry, the AFC Championship game to Mahomes. So that's the farthest Lamar's gotten, too. So my question is there a guy that you consider head and shoulders better that you put in that top 3 slot? Either way, first time, long time, guys. Big fan, and stay dirty.
So here's the, I guess, the question is always, I mean, if we're simply talking about quarterbacks that I would take over Lamar Jackson to try to win the Super Bowl on unknown Team X today, dude, he's not in my top like fucking 6 or 7. Like,
Really?
Guys I would take over Lamar Jackson for this year if I don't know my roster and my goal is to win the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Matthew Stafford, Trevor Lawrence. That's off the top of my head.
Interesting. But I'm not saying I did necessarily disagree, but it is interesting.
When you talk about Lamar Jackson, we just did this. We just did this when he got the MVP. So Lamar Jackson's offensive stats are Tyrod Taylor in Buffalo, but he has the best defense in football, and he wins 1 playoff game. Josh Allen also hasn't gone that far. When did Josh Allen have the one defense, the number 1 defense? When did Josh Allen have that game against the Chiefs at home? I mean, obviously had it this year, but the Chiefs went back-to-back and beat Lamar too. You know what I mean? So
I tend to agree with you. Again, the playoffs are a different animal. And not only visually, just from an eye standpoint, also statistically, Lamar has not shown that he can get it done yet. And if we're going to evaluate quarterbacks by playoffs and Super Bowls and Super Bowl appearances and AFC Championship game appearances, which we should.
But also, I'm not putting Brock Purdy above him because Brock Purdy has played in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Because the same way I'll look at Justin Herbert and put him over Lamar Jackson is the same way that right now I'll put Lamar Jackson over Brock Purdy. The team's success doesn't matter to me because I'm judging the whole team. Brock Purdy was on the 49ers. Okay? And Lamar Jackson was on the Ravens. None of these guys were on the Jacksonville Jaguars. None of these guys were on the Brandon Staley Chargers. I'm looking at it in a vacuum. Like, I don't know. Like, who do I want quarterbacking the Ravens next year? Who do I want quarterbacking the Bills next year? Who do I want quarterbacking my Giants next year? I might take Lamar Jackson over all but maybe Mahomes and Josh Allen next year if you were asking me who I wanted to quarterback the Giants, because I don't think the Giants are going to protect somebody. So you want a guy who can fucking run around a little bit. But in a vacuum, Team X, I don't know the roster you're giving me. I might take those 6 guys over him.
Yeah. Which again, like it all comes back to that. It all comes back to the playoffs and what you've done.
And it all comes back to what, like, you know, what you did with what you were given.
Yeah. I mean, for
If
sure.
if you and I have a fucking, if you and I have a race in our cars, and you show up with your fucking Toyota hatchback, and I get a Ferrari, and I beat you by a fucking half a car length, you're a better driver than me. Like,
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson has multiple seasons where he has a top 3 defense. And I hate to say it. I hate to say this about Lamar Jackson, but like, guys, we already did this with Russell Wilson. He won a Super Bowl. He got to another Super Bowl. You're a fucking hater. What's a guy got to do? Cut to a few years later, and he's getting $1 million 1-year show me deals because he didn't have the fucking defense to carry him anymore.
I mean, I for sure, like Josh Allen, I probably put him ahead for sure. Most likely. Herbert, I do too. Like, that's why I like the Herbert with Harbaugh thing is going to be fun to watch.
That's where I was hoping Saquon would go.
Well, apparently the Texans were right there too. That would have been a huge get for the Texans with CJ Stroud on that rookie deal.
Yeah.
I mean,
now, am I taking CJ Stroud over Lamar Jackson on Team X next year? No. Am I taking CJ Stroud on Team X for the next 3 years? Yep. Yeah, I am. Am I taking CJ Stroud on Team X for the next 5 years? In a fucking heart, I'd fucking run over Lamar Jackson in a truck to get him for the next 5 years over. CJ Stroud got into the fucking playoffs year 1. Lamar Jackson, you remember his first playoff game? It's like watching an Air Force game. They're like, let's hope there's mud. Run the wing T.
I do remember that game. They got their shit pushed in by the Chargers by Philip Fudge and Rivers. I remember watching that in the Smut studio. Man, it's just nonstop, isn't it? This action just, you're just like, where's it going?
This just
What's that?
This episode should be called Refresh Shefty.
No, I'll just periodically I'll periodically check in. I have to bring this up though. This is wild to me. This is football, but not player related. Did you see this? There are multiple Chiefs fans who attended that cold game who are going to need amputations. Dude, this is not, and we're not even talking about people who were going shirtless and shit.
Right.
This is insane for that freezing cold Chiefs Dolphins playoff
Probably the
game.
shirtless people who are fucking jumping around the whole time, they're probably fine. It's probably the people who are sitting there like, fuck, I'm dying.
This is a wild one. Oh, okay. Well, let me, before I get to the story, the medical director of the Grossman Burns Center, because I guess they, Burns and frostbite are in the same category.
Yeah.
Says 70% of the patients referred for frostbites who attended the game are now being advised to schedule amputations. 70%. Now, some of them are going through the hyperbaric oxygen tanks and like chambers and dude, this is nuts to me. But like, here's a story.
Ruther watched it in his underwear with fucking Buffalo Wild Wings on his shirt. Just like, fucking.
Yeah.
Ruther was playing Papa Shot.
So here's one from a woman or from the doctor. She said she's seen dozens of these frostbite patients. She goes, I even saw one who the hand was so jacked up because the fan took the gloves off for 5 minutes to prop up a tent to tailgate. And like the fingers and hand didn't recover. Dude, this isn't.
I just imagine that story at your fucking, at your Christmas party next year. So what happened was, so you know the tent we have, right? So, okay, so picture this, right? And then I'm over there. That's a visual joke for the YouTube crowd.
I mean, it's insane. It's absolutely insane that like a lot of people are going to have to be.
Sally, you need a hand with that tent this time?
I mean, I just don't get it. If you know it's that cold and you know you're feeling it during the game, get out of there. It's like those
get out.
Just get out. It's like those idiots who, shout out to my dad, rest in peace. Those idiots who went shirtless during the freezer bowl who died. Their body, they couldn't recover.
I love that one day there's going to be a Chiefs fan who's talking shit about Mahomes' greatness who will not be able to properly show how many Super Bowl rings Mahomes has without taking off his shoes. He's got 7 rings. So all of my fingers, my nub, and one of my toes.
I mean, the doctor says even people who aren't getting amputations, and I didn't know this is a lifelong process. People who don't have things removed will have sensitivity and pain for the rest of their lives.
Taylor Swift has offered them $5 each because she's a charity queen.
That's right. She was at the game. You know how great the NFL PR is. Like, this just flew under the radar. I saw this and I was like, whoa. People are losing body limbs.
Don't forget that fucking the owner of the Chiefs watched it from inside his 6-bedroom apartment that he turned his owner's box into. And other people watched it fucking without limbs. He's like, you know what I would have done if I was them? Mid-game, I would have gotten in the sauna. Wait, they don't have saunas out there? They should get saunas. They should get saunas. Dude, hot tub, cold tub, sauna? Like, yeah, it's kind of silly for them not to have those out there.
I was thinking,
Joe Burrow's like, I'm waiting to take a shit because we have one working toilet. Oh, I have an LED sauna in my suite.
I was thinking, like, there's no way the NFL or the Chiefs or anybody affiliated with the NFL comments on this.
Thank God it's the Chiefs. At least they got, at least it's Mahomes and the Chiefs. At least you got to see him win. Thank God the Vikings play indoors. Can you imagine this having happened to Vikings fans who went and watched Kirk Cousins get butt fucked by Daniel Jones?
Yeah, you don't want to be.
You'd kill yourself. You'd hang yourself before you amputated a fucking hand for going to watch Kirk Cousins lose.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Just imagine this. Imagine one of these people being like 80. Grandpa, what happened to your hand? Have you heard of Patrick Mahomes? One of the great players in NFL history.
Grandpa, did you fight in World War III? I heard it was crazy in 2024. No, I did not. I attended the Chiefs-Dolphins playoff games.
Before Archibald Manning VI came into the league and became the GOAT, there was a man known as Patrick Mahomes. Lost my hand watching him beat.
My hand was so cold when I went to shake Taylor Swift's hand. just broke into brittle into little pieces. I don't know,
Remember
man.
the pop star Taylor Swift famously assassinated? Well, she was dating a tight end on the now
Assassinated.
the team that's now the Kansas City Badgers used to be the Chiefs. They had a very racist chant, which they made them change the name about.
And as I froze to death, it only got worse when Patrick Mahomes' wife dumped cold champagne all over.
Famous serial rapist Jackson Mahomes? Well, his brother was quite the quarterback back in the day.
I just, again, NFL fans, man. It's crazy to think, because you don't think, you're like, we're risking losing our hands.
More insane NFL fans. Chiefs fans who are needing body parts amputated after attending a game, or Atlanta Falcons fans that are already talking up this Kirk Cousins deal on Twitter. Like
Cousins fans. Cousins fans, without a doubt. So, can we leave the NFL world for a bit?
Sure.
I'd like to kind of hop off that, and if some stuff comes up, I'll bring it up. But I want to talk about this Rudy Gobert.
This is unreal. This is unreal that this isn't the top story of like it. You talk about flying under the radar.
So Rudy Gobert thinks that.
I mean, obviously ESPN and the NBA have a pretty solid, television deal, and I know there's not a ton of outlets out there that get the.
And ESPN has their own ESPN Bet. They have their own app.
Yeah.
So that's probably part of it. But yeah, Rudy Gobert is suggesting that refs have been influenced by betting. Hence, when he got a technical for doing the double money sign, he thinks calls are being influenced when he got a technical. Cavs tie the game up. It goes into overtime. They lose.
I mean, he outright accuses them of, like, this is one of, obviously this isn't a LeBron or a fucking, it's not even the biggest star on his own team, but like Rudy Gobert is a big name in the NBA. So one of your quote unquote stars verbally saying referees are considering the gambling line when they're making calls is, I mean, you could say it's a butthurt French guy move, but also, like, it doesn't feel like that comes from nowhere,
So I think you got to kind of delve into
this. By the way, let me just say before you get going, I mock all the NFL is rigged guys because I just think that that's stupid. But like, we're not rigging games, but we know what the line is and we're considering it when we're like, I believe in that wholeheartedly.
Well, also the NBA had their own, recent scandal in the last so many years.
And it's easier to do.
It's easier to do. That's another thing. What I was going to say is I think you got to delve into the subconscious, right? So it's proven scientifically we are subconsciously affected by things, right? And I'm not saying you have to act out. Like, I'm not one of those, I play violent video games or see violent movies, so now I'm going to go shoot up a mall or whatever. Which, by the way, there would be nobody shoot up if you went to a mall. That was a terrible analogy. Malls don't exist. But you get my point. So I'm not one of those, but I think it affects you, right? I think my point is, if gambling is everywhere, and it's everywhere, there's no way it's not affecting everybody, which would include referees. I think it's all. Let me put it this way: the short amount of time, guys, the ESPNs of the world, or any of them, Fox or CBS, whoever, they wouldn't even discuss that. Now the little ticker and the scroller, it's all showing the lines.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
you get, dude. It's not that long ago. I mean, you think about this show, Andy. It's not that long ago on our show. I mean, we're talking about 5-6 years ago, where like I was breaking down for you, and it wasn't. This isn't to dunk on you, but like the money lines, and because that wasn't that common a thing at the time. It's like, everybody in high school knows about fucking spreads or whatever, but it's like we're getting live money lines on TV, live lines. Flashing during games. Knicks are plus 400 to come back in this game. Like, you're like, can you imagine being a kid out there and just being like, Dad, what does minus 250 mean? By the way, I'm all for it. I'm just saying the idea of having this separation, the idea of NFL guys, bet on prize picks and they're suspended for 5 years. The idea that Pete Rose isn't in the Hall of Fame and made the first bet at the Reds current stadium sportsbook is just like, what world are we living in?
Well, that's the truth. I don't know if you saw.
It's like OJ teaching how not to murder your wife 101. It's like, what? Like,
well, last week, there was a discussion. Well, I've seen a lot more, but Bomani Jones tweeted something about it, which then turned into a huge discussion, which I was kind of following, and I was reading some people's responses. And he has a deal himself with Prize Picks, and he acknowledged that, right? He's understanding it. This is how it all started. He wrote this, I believe, on Friday. This is a terrible medium to discuss gambling because it's unserious place fueled by unserious people, talking about Twitter. But a serious reckoning is coming, and I fear we'll all be too compromised to properly address. But it's guaranteed to happen. And he followed up by being like, dude, I get money from this too. That's the point, right? Is that like we can't have real discussions when we all got our hands in this gambling industry. Right. But if you watch these games, man, the amount of ads. Let me pose this question. They made, and again, I am all for letting people gamble and make right decisions. I'm more, from that point of view of like, let people make their own decisions with their own bodies, with drugs, with gambling, sex, what they want to do. Like I'm more of just like, and you are too. It's like, let people decide what they want to do. But I do find it hilarious that you can outlaw cigarette ads, which were outlawed years ago. But you can just pump the gambling ads nonstop. Now, I don't know if that's apples to oranges, but it is funny to me that like the amount of inundation from these ads is just, it's nonstop.
Yeah.
And I don't have the numbers behind it. I would argue, I bet you there's more gambling than alcohol ads at this point during sports games now.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, when you talk about all the things like, because you're not running, you might have, I mean, I don't even think it's close. I was going to say you might have more beer commercials during the game, but you probably don't. I mean, you think about just even the things that we've worked with, like, dude, I saw 10 Prize Picks ads I watched the UFC fights on Saturday. 50 Prize Picks fucking ads. Like, then you get the live lines, then you got all the things you like. Yeah.
But again, once you're in bed, whether it's the NFL or the NBA or any of these leagues, how do you get out of that? You can't. So you can't. But how do you keep the game clean?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, honestly. I mean, I think that the truth is that's why the NFL. Jesus Christ. Pulled my plug. Sorry.
All good.
I think that's why these leagues for so long acted as if this thing wasn't happening, because they know there's no way, if it is connected, to stay. So the NFL is like, we don't talk about gambling because obviously it's affecting our sport. But if we can hide that, then maybe people won't think it is. And yeah, so I just really don't think that there's a way that it's not having some effect. But the counter to that, for the people who are like, oh, well, fucking, then what is anything? It's like, it always has. It always has, especially in the NFL.
That's true.
I'm not sure the NFL exists on the level it exists today were it not for gambling.
I agree. And the NFL knew that all along, right? They weren't pushing for people to, whatever it would be. I don't even know who it would be from a government standpoint, to crack down on pick polls or survivor polls or whatever. And you know, it wouldn't be that hard.
I can tell you one thing for sure. I'm not sure college basketball actually exists without brackets. I think college basketball would be college swimming if it weren't for brackets. I don't think it'd have a TV deal.
Well, I mean, probably right. That's how big it is. And how many billions of dollars, again, like we're saying, the illegal office pools, or the family pool, or, you know.
I would say that the majority, I mean, you think about the popularity of basketball in general, and then the popularity of college sports in general, and then how many teams are like consistently good. I don't think you have, I think more than 50% of people who watch college basketball watch it as some sort of like judgment to prepare for their March Madness bracket.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty crazy if you think about it. But clearly there's no answers.
Yeah. That's sports. I mean, you know, you would have to be a pretty young, pretty, you know, innocent-minded person to not kind of know that all this shit has been affecting sports forever. And that's honestly why things like the Pete Rose situation, or things like the Calvin Ridley situation, it's why they happen, because they're so desperate to make you think that this isn't affecting, that they're like, no, if you gamble on sports, you're banned for life. And it's like, bro, we know this is happening. Like, overreact much? You know what I mean?
But also, you know, I think the bigger, probably for the actual gambling industry and the concern would probably be with younger kids. Because, you know, when you're our age, doesn't mean people don't have gambling addictions. Of course they do. But like take myself, for example. I'm not a big gambler. I've been open about that. It just doesn't do much for me. I haven't placed a single bet since the Super Bowl. I haven't even thought about it.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see what I'm saying? So it's like, and even my bets are all small, $5, $10, $15 bets. So it's like, that's why I always laugh at the notion the same way, right? With any vice, whether it's drugs or this, like the thought, if they legalize cocaine, like I wouldn't just go out and do cocaine. Now, again, I don't speak for all people. Sure, you'd have an uptick.
Yeah.
Right. Which, by the way, is a good segue to we had a drug call today. But my point is, I think that's where their concern would be. But also, they're not going to have concern, because if you're a young college kid what's going to get you more into the NBA or NFL than
Right,
gambling?
exactly. Exactly.
So,
But also the
mean,
money there, like the partnerships, you think about all the things you think about when you watch the NFL or the UFC or whatever, we've talked about it before. Like, what is success? Success in football isn't selling popcorn at the stadium anymore. That
No.
shit is this ain't the 1950s.
No.
It's all these TV deals. Like all of that shit that happens at the stadium, that's all bonus shit. That's all bonus shit. And it's all these TV deals. And so having interest in a sport overall, and then you talk about the NFL or the NBA or whatever, they don't give a fuck about the ratings. They give a fuck about what they're getting paid from ESPN. Now, what is ESPN making their money on? They're making money on the commercials. And so, if we're now seeing that, you talk about all the years where it was, I used to do a joke about it. Pickup trucks, beer, and dick pills tells you everything you need to know about who watches the NFL. You know what I mean? And who they're catering it to. And now every sport, every ad is about gambling because they're like, well, we're going to target people who are already watching this stuff and vice versa. But the NBA and the NFL, whatever, they just want their TV deals bigger. And ESPN just wants to sell commercials. So if they're going to sell them to Prize Picks or FanDuel or DraftKings or BetMGM, great.
Yeah, for sure. So you want to talk a little Luka? I saw you put Luka on the rundown.
Yeah, it was when we were going to do the show on Friday or Saturday or something like that. It was an interesting conversation that I saw from the NBA on TNT crew because I think he had a little 35-point triple-double streak, and the conversation that came up, and I heard Shaq say one, but Ernie said, do you see an MVP in Luka's future? It seems crazy because a couple of years ago you would have said Luka is kind of like, Luka's going to be a multi MVP guy, but the conversation was, all the things that the Mavs have done, all the different moves, all the different sort of attempts, the tries, the like rosters they've put around him, they're a play-in team right now, along with, the Warriors and the Lakers and the whatever. And it's, Russell Westbrook won a MVP a couple of years ago, however many years ago now with the triple-double season on a not great team. And the question was, does Luka ever win an MVP? Do you see one in his future? And I think it's still safe to say, and I agree with Shaq, it's like, yeah, I still do. But Shaq saying one, that I thought that was an interesting conversation. I think there's an MVP in Luka's future at some point. I agree that it's tough with the quality of the league these days. It's tough to win one if you're an 8 seed or if you're a 7 seed. But it feels like they have to get it right at some point there. You said an over-under at 1.5, though. I don't know.
You would think he would get 1.
You would think for sure. He's, such a ball-dominant guy. His game, and I think this is what I talked about a few years ago with his game, which is it's not like it's going to wane with a lack of, as his athleticism does. Because this is a guy, so fucking crafty. He wouldn't be jumping off of the screen if we dropped him in the 90s video with the right-hand bandit. You know what I mean? He wouldn't be jumping off the screen, because he just so quietly and craftily does what he does. Now, he would get shot if he showed up in 90s NBA practice because they're like, how are you shooting from so far away? Do you have a bionic arm? And then they'd be like, and then your weird accent. Are you an alien? Take him to Area 51. But you know, I don't see his you know, output slowing down because he doesn't run as fast as he once did or jump as high. So yeah, I see one in his future for sure. I'd even say I think if you set the over under at 2, I'd probably bet a push. If you set the over at 1.5, I might bet over. I don't think he's got 3 MVPs in him. It's a lot of MVPing.
I'd set it at 1. I mean, I'd say he wins 1 if you set it at 1.5.
If I set it at 1.5, you're taking the under.
Yeah. I mean, but he doesn't have the grit. He doesn't have the this.
He doesn't have the
guys.
He has the killer instinct. Perhaps with that killer instinct. My favorite thing about the killer instinct is the best basketball player today doesn't even like basketball. He's doing commercials with a tiny horse.
That's hilarious. It's making me pull up my phone because I got a DM from speaking of killer instinct. Shout out to Dirtball Luke. He was showing his buddy who's a Kobe stan my facts only on Kobe. And he sent a video, like he's hanging out with his buddies. 3 minutes in, he couldn't handle it. The buddy like runs into the other room, like 3 minutes into the video.
He couldn't even handle watching it.
Yeah, like his buddy couldn't take it anymore, just like hitting him with facts. I have noticed on YouTube, anybody who like attacks that video has the worst English. Like they can't even type.
Because they're just triggered so hard.
Yeah. So this fight, I'm glad you put this on the run. I was going to put this on. Or did I put this on? Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul. Did I put this on or did you put this on?
I put it on. Yeah. Thanks for reading the rundown, Andy.
Yeah, I try.
Just kidding.
So
I've added to the rundown a total of 10 times in the history of Dirty Sports rundowns, and 6 of them were for this episode.
Yeah. Well, obviously this was big news Friday. So Mike Tyson, it's probably gonna be like an exhibition, right? Versus Jake Paul. Mike Tyson, by the time they fight, will be 58 and he'll be 27. So 31-year difference. But here's the kicker. It's going to be live on Netflix at AT&T Stadium in Dallas where the Cowboys play. And they're expecting 80,000 people.
It's crazy.
So there's a lot of factors going on.
It's crazy what boxing has become. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Dude, this is honestly this is bananas. This would be like if, like, I mean, we're talking about AT&T Stadium. We're talking about a Netflix pay-per-view or like a Netflix live event. Like, this is the equivalent of if Michael Jordan versus Trae Young fucking one-on-one on Hulu, like, out drew the fucking NBA Finals. Like, this is bananas.
It's crazy. And it's also obviously just a show. Like, Tyson's going to be 60 almost. Yeah. Which, by the way, I don't recommend.
Fighting boxing people at 60?
No, I don't recommend that.
Yeah, I don't recommend it either. If you're going to box somebody at 60, box a YouTuber, though.
Have they listed the rules for this? Because I saw some things that, like, they're going to wear headgear. And it's
I didn't see. I saw that, but I think people were joking. Because there was the Roy Jones Jr. fight at one point that was like, that was Tyson Roy Jones Jr., wasn't it? I don't even remember all these fucking exhibition fights, but it was basically like whatever. To me, it's like, Mike Tyson, what do you got to protect yourself for at this point? Just fucking fight the dude. I am so tempted to still say Mike Tyson's going to fucking beat the shit out of this guy. But then I'm also like, he's going to be 58.
Dude. So it's been claimed, not confirmed, that they will use 18-ounce gloves and headgear.
Dude, if this is, let me just say this. I won't watch this fight if they wear headgear. That would be fucking so stupid. That would be so fucking dumb.
It'd be a sparring match.
What in the world? What in the world would you're Mike Tyson? I won't watch
the use of headgear strong. I'm reading an article on the use of headgear strongly suggests that this will indeed be an amateur bout rather than a professional one, with Tyson unlikely to be sanctioned as a professional due that he will be 58 years at the time of fighting, 58 years old. So I don't know.
But it's not like fucking Jake Paul's like going up the ranks of boxing. He's not like a ranked boxer.
How much money are these fuckers making on this?
A lot.
Like hundreds of millions.
I don't know if they were making hundreds of millions, but they're making tens of millions. But I'm sure it depends on how many people fucking... If it's with headgear, that would be so fucking lame. Literally, the only reason anyone's tuning in is to see if Mike Tyson at 58 can still knock the absolute jaw off a YouTuber. By the way, I watched the UFC fights this week, and it was pretty fun. There's one guy who was like straight up fucking crackhead.
It's funny you say that. I was thinking that I could possibly get into it.
My thing is, like, I don't want to watch it like enough to I don't give a fuck about any of these people, but like in the moment, like I've always said, like in the moment, like it's still just two people beating the shit out of each other, which is cool. But one of this guy, Michael Venom, whatever, MVP, dude, 3 seconds into the fight, I'm talking to my buddy who's like, and I was like, that guy's absolutely winning. And of course, we're talking about like the DraftKings live odds. He was like an underdog coming out. I was like, how is he an underdog? I was like, he looks like Dal Sim from Street Fighter. Like he's the last guy I want to fight on earth. He was bouncing around like he was literally a street crackhead. He's like spinning, backhanding people. I was like, I don't think I would bet on a guy who's just gonna like stand there and box like a methed out fucking crackhead.
I mean, that's a brutal sport, man.
Yeah, that's why I stopped watching it originally, because I went and saw some live. I went and saw some amateur MMA live, and it was fucking brutal. I was like, oh, it's kind of gross. Sport. But I feel like I'd be a good handicapper at it. My buddy's like, nah, man, he's the underdog. I was like, no way he loses.
So, like UFC, they're just going to keep going up in number. Are they ever going to end?
No, I'm obviously
be like UFC 4,000.
Here's something interesting too. I didn't know this, and I know people have been begging us to talk fucking UFC forever, but like, I didn't know that it's fully ESPN. Like, basically, if you want to watch UFC, you just need ESPN Plus. So the first thing you got to do is pony up $120 for ESPN Plus for a year. Then you can buy pay-per-views.
Wait, what?
Yeah. If you want to watch UFC, you must be an ESPN Plus subscriber.
You can't just do pay-per-view?
Nope. Obviously, you could do crack streams and whatever, but...
That was a smart deal.
So, yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that. It's interesting. You want to hear a couple calls?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. I alluded to this one earlier. This is a drug call. 310-359-8365. That's our hotline.
Hey, boys. It's Crazy Eyes Sam Bradford here. I love when Joe talks about mushrooms, and I want to hear a trippy story or a time where you got really weird, Joe. And then also, what's your advice for maybe Andy, who wants to dabble in them a little bit? What would be your advice for first-time experimenters? Anyway, as always, condoms are for pussies.
Andy, you haven't taken mushrooms?
Yeah, I've done them twice.
Oh, okay. Was he talking about you, or is he?
He was, but yeah, I did him in Amsterdam and I did him in Las Vegas.
Well, I
Maybe
did
because
him I did them on Saturday while I watched a UFC fight. I mean, the way to dabble in them these days is now you got these like microdose gummies, these microdose chocolates, these microdose whatever. Like, no brainer, just take some of those. Like, you know, so yeah, I mean, you can. There was a time where it was very hard. Like, I'm not like the biggest microdose guy because I'm just like, to me, every time I like microdose, I have less mushrooms for when I want to macrodose. So I'm not like big on it, but I am. But I think forget the daily kind of take a mushroom gummy every day with your fucking coffee. Forget that. But it's way easier than it used to be to take a little bit, see how you feel, because, you know, back in the day, it was like, oh, do I take a cap or do I just eat some stems or it's like now you get the gummies, these chocolates, whatever, like take a couple, see how you feel. And then if you want to keep fucking around, do a little bit more. But I have a bunch of crazy mushroom stories. I think probably my craziest, wildest one was I drove cross country 2006, I think, 2005. And I went with some friends and I brought 3 doses of mushrooms because we had plans to stay national park in Colorado. And then we lost one of our friends. She like went to a wedding along the way. And then, so I had 3 doses of mushrooms for 2 people. And I was like, all right, that's cool. Like, we can fucking really go for it now. And then my buddy was like, I'm not interested. And I was like, what? Like, we're going to camp out in a park in Colorado. He's like, yeah, I'm good. I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm eating 3 people's worth of mushrooms and just having the time of my life. And I did. I was in some Mesa National Park in like outside of Durango, Colorado or whatever. And tripping my face off of mushrooms. Like, the stars literally turned into fireworks. They was like bouncing around and exploding. It was fucking amazing. The clouds were turning into the thing from the Never Ending Story. But at one point I was using a little flashlight under like a Gatorade bottle that still had Gatorade in it as like a little lantern. And then my juice on my flashlight ran out, so I had to take a piss, and I didn't want to piss at our campsite, but it was pretty dark. So I was like, all right, my plan is I'm just going to point myself in a direction and just like kind of jog for 10 seconds, and then I'll piss, and then I'll turn 180 degrees and I'll jog back, and I should be pretty close to the campsite again. And I should be able to find my way around. So this is my mushroom brain fucking talking. I like jog for 10 seconds. I piss. I turn around and I jog back. I don't know if I jogged faster or whatever, but I ran right into the tent and like tackled the tent. My buddy thought he was getting attacked by a bear. Now I'm tripping Sack rolling in a fucking tent, and he thinks he's getting attacked by a bear. It's pretty crazy. But it was a amazing visual experience on mushrooms. And the next day, the national park, they had all you can eat pancakes at their like little like snack stand, like free with your admission to the park. And I'm there, and I'm still like kind of on mushrooms, and we meet this old couple who like volunteers at the pancake stand. And I was like, what's your guys' deal? They're like, we just, we're retired. So we just come every Saturday and we cook pancakes until everybody's done. You can just eat as many pancakes as you want. And it just like made me so happy that there was people that were just like so nice that I started like crying. My buddy's like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Well, I'm still on mushrooms, but also these people are like the sweetest two people on earth. They're just like feeding me pancakes for no fucking reason, just because they just like want to be nice to people." So that was one of my better mushroom experiences. Also in Amsterdam, when I was there with High Times, me, Pete Sestaro, and Guy Fiorita, former guests of the show, all took a bunch of mushrooms. And I remember walking into a bar and it was like something out of a movie. It was like all these fucking Amsterdam people like talking, blah, 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 like having it. And the three of us walk in all tripping. And it was like, the whole, like the music goes off. Everybody turns and it's like staring at us. I was like, I'm freaking out, guys. So yeah, mushrooms, they're the best.
Would you do ayahuasca?
Would I? Yes. Have I? No. Do I have plans to? No. But I would. I don't love the idea that they say like you're gonna vomit everywhere.
Yeah. I knew somebody who recently did a trip down to, Costa Rica for one of those, where it's like a controlled resort.
Yeah.
With a shaman, and you do.
Yeah.
I know this is this white person shit ever, but
Yeah.
like, it really piqued my interest. But I mean, that's like an expensive trip.
Yeah, and by the way, you could just like you could do them here in California. You can go over to Topanga and have the same exact experience.
Yeah.
And your shaman's name is just Terry,
who also teaches yoga classes on the weekends.
Yeah.
In Venice.
And just like
now, see, so I've only done shrooms twice, but it's a very similar effect that when I'm on edibles, the two times I did it was uncontrollable laughter. Like once I get going, the dumbest shit.
Oh,
but I did it.
I've laughed so hard on mushrooms, I started crying, and people are like, "What are you laughing about?" I'm like, I don't know. I don't even remember how this started.
Oh yeah, I mean, I got that picture. I don't know if it's still up on Facebook or Instagram. I got that picture where I'm laughing so hard, and then I start, because vomiting is an effect, right? Too on shrooms.
Yeah, I mean, it can be.
But like, I start vomiting. It does
give you a bubble gut.
Yeah, I vomit, and I look but I'm laughing, and my buddy is outside, and we're in Las Vegas, and I'm vomiting and I'm laughing at the same time, which is like a weird combination. I didn't know they had like where do you get the where do you get something like that?
What's that? Like microdose mushrooms?
Yeah, like you say, like little gummies.
I have a guy who just like, I know that fucking sells them, like fully packaged bars, like look like it's the most legit thing ever. The fucking nutritional shit on the back and saying take one piece for this, take 2 pieces for this, take 3 pieces for elation, take 4 pieces for visuals.
Yeah. Well, it's probably a lot easier out there. Because like the 2 times I've done it was like, churches, you don't know what the fuck you're eating. Like it's 2 mushrooms. Like they taste like shit.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Like,
yeah.
Like
I just used to throw them in a Snapple bottle and just chug it.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to fucking taste it.
I mean, Amsterdam was different. I was dipping in chicken McNugget sauce.
Yeah. Well, sauce. Also in Amsterdam, you get fresh mushrooms.
Yeah.
That was a big thing of when we went. The guy was like, "Hey, you guys want like a bunch of extra doses? Because like these are like expired." And I was like, "Expired?" He's like, "Yeah, we're only allowed to like have fresh mushrooms." He's like, and he literally was like, "They're still fresher than every mushroom you've ever eaten in America, which was probably dried for months before you ate it." And he was like, "But I can't sell them." And so then we just had like extra mushrooms. And I remember my favorite quote from that was like, me, Pete, and Guy ate mushrooms, and then after, we still had more of these mushrooms, and we were all leaving the next day. And I was like, we should just redose, guys, and just stay up all night. And Pete was like, I got to go to bed. I got to get up on a flight. And then my buddy Guy, and the guy was like, he goes, I got a pack still. And I go, you got a bag? And he's like, yeah. I go, put all your shit in it. Come back, and then fucking, and it, like on mushrooms, it made sense that packing. Just take all the stuff that you have, put it in a bag, and then come back and eat the rest of these mushrooms. He's like, okay, I'll be right back.
Did Amsterdam change all their policies? Are they still not the drug? Like, is all this shit legal still?
Yeah, but I think it's more controlled than it was.
So it is still legal.
Yeah, I think so.
But how could it be more controlled? Like when I was there, again, we're talking 20 plus years ago, like you went to a smart shop where it was very controlled.
Well, you know how, I mean, think about California. Think about when you used to go just like medical marijuana in California. You go, and there's jars and you're smelling them and you're whatever. And now you go and it's like, everything's pre-packaged. Everything's got like, I mean, there was times where I would go to the medical marijuana place in California and they're like, oh, that brownie's got 200 milligrams in it. And you're like, fuck, dude. And now they're like, every piece has 10 milligrams. And
which you and I know those bullshit though.
Yeah.
We've talked about it.
Yeah.
There's no way. There's no way each gummy has whatever they say, 5 or 10 milligrams.
Right. I mean, I think
sometimes.
Yeah. Because sometimes they charge. I mean, I think what it is they, you know, they probably take 10,000 milligrams and put it into a vat, and then they break that into, you know, 1,000 pieces, and they're like, there's 10,000 milligrams, and divided by 1,000, there's 10 milligrams in each, and it's like, nah, some have none, and some have 50.
Yeah. All right. Here's a.
It's not like they're injecting each gummy. You know what I mean?
No, for sure. Here's a really weird, interesting. Speaking of mushrooms, hypothetical. I mean, this one, I don't even know how to really answer this, to be honest.
What's going on, Dirty Sports? This is Hunter from Michigan here with another football question. You guys were talking about how Peyton Manning's not even in Indianapolis and he's living in Denver. So hypothetical question. Let's pretend that Peyton Manning did a cut and paste of the John Elway decision to not allow the Colts to sign him and essentially demanded a trade that landed Manning in Denver his rookie year. What would his career have looked like if all those years he had been on Denver instead of the Colts? Would he have won more Super Bowls? Would he have won just the one at the end of his career? You know, how would have his career turned out? Thanks for the thoughts. And also, I asked my wife what position Jason Kelce played. She had no fucking clue. So, yeah. And maybe she's just not as diehard of a Taylor Swift fan to look up his position. But, yeah, she had no idea. That's all for me. Take care.
So, like I don't know how to answer that because obviously it's like, what was Denver doing from 1998 till whenever? Like, when did he go there? 2015, 2014, 2013?
Yeah. But like 1998, like when was the Broncos Super Bowls? Hold on. Okay, I'm looking this up.
Yeah, so am I.
So 1998.
Was that correct? Was that his first year? They won the Super Bowl in 97, 98.
Right. They won the 1998 Super Bowl, and he was in the 1998 draft. So he was drafted in a year where they are the defending Super Bowl champs, and Elway retires. And they go 6-10, 11-5, 8-8, 9-7, 10-6, 10-6, 13-3 in 2005. Yeah, he has more Super Bowls. Like what? Yeah, he has more Super Bowls. You telling me he doesn't still win one on a team that went 13-3 with who? Cutler?
Yeah, that was a team that was Manning had just lost, I believe, to the Steelers, and then the Steelers beat Denver, and then that's the year the Steelers won the Super Bowl.
But also, I mean, think about it this way. The Broncos go 6-10 as Super Bowl.
That's Plummer, actually, Brano.
That goes 13-3?
Yeah.
Yeah. still. And I like Plummer.
Yeah.
But like they go 13-3 in 2000. Yeah, I mean, they're 11-5 in 2000
with Greasy.
They're 6-10 the year. I mean, the year after they were Super Bowl champs, they go 6-10 because they lose Elway. I mean, you go rookie Payton Manning. Yeah, he wins multiple Super Bowls in Denver. Now, the hypothetical is like, is late career Peyton Manning Denver even Denver if they have Peyton Manning early in their career? I don't know. You probably don't go like full defense, like blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I think he wins more. Also, not to mention, how about this? Not that the AFC South was like kicking ass or whatever, but like that's a down era for the Raiders, the Chiefs, who you got fucking what, Phillip Rivers and the Chargers to worry about.
What about this though? He got the benefit of playing in the dome for all those years.
Sure.
Too.
I don't think that's really like, I think that's a benefit, but like Peyton Manning's a pretty good fucking football player. Like,
no, for sure. But I mean, I don't know. It's just like,
he's not a dome bandit. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I'm not saying he's not Drew Brees, but I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting question. It's kind of like it's tough to rate it because you're like, well, who was on those rosters? I know he had some fucking guys in Indy. Now he made a lot of those guys, but he had the Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne. I mean, he had some studs. I don't know. You think Peyton's ever done mushrooms?
I don't know. I'm going to say no.
There's a Manning cast. Peyton and Eli on shrooms.
Yeah.
What's that like?
If you had to pick between Peyton and Eli, who's more likely to have done mushrooms?
Eli.
You gotta go Eli for sure, right?
Yeah. And if I had to pick, who do I want to do shrooms with?
I think Cooper has a microdosing regimen. Cooper gets up every morning and drinks mushroom tea.
I heard Archie smokes meth.
Oh no, Archie
on the rag.
Archie has never done mushrooms, but his every day is like he's done mushrooms because he has so much CTE. He's constantly seeing fucking stars.
Speaking of CTE, I finished the Aaron Hernandez episode.
What's that?
On the Patriots dynasty, the Aaron Hernandez episode. It's nuts. I've seen so much on it, but it's so funny that Bill Belichick won't talk about it. Like still on that show. They ask him, he just won't go there.
I gotta watch it. I haven't watched any.
It's pretty good, man. So we're not done, but like I haven't watched the last few, but like it's pretty good. Like
my girlfriend, I don't think I've talked about this. My girlfriend decided to watch The Sopranos from the start. She'd never seen it. I was like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Such a good show. And
she started watching it. And so every day is like 2 or 3 episodes of The Sopranos. And she literally said the other day, she's like, I identify as Italian now. I identify as an Italian wife. I was like, okay. And then I pushed her down the stairs and went out with my other girlfriend.
That's hilarious. So that's a show, like you saying that, I could start tonight and go back.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I haven't watched. So I watched it. I mean, as an Italian New Yorker, when I say The Sopranos was a big deal to like, it started when I was in college and I would like come home I would drive home on weekends from Lehigh just to like do like Sunday dinner at my house. My family making pasta. We all sit around, we have pasta. There's like as a family, we're watching The Sopranos.
That's
like
awesome.
I watched every episode and this is like, obviously pre-TiVo DVR, that's right around that time, but it's like you're watching that shit as it comes out. So I watched every episode from premiere to end the day of, basically. And then over the years, I would say I've watched 25 episodes, like loose here, there, blah, blah, blah. Oh, this one. Oh, man, remember this scene? Like, I should watch that episode again. But I had never, only one time have I sat down and watched it start to finish. And now I'm in the midst of a second. And I'm like, it's the best show ever. It's fucking hilarious. It's the best TV show ever. I don't even think,
That's
there's not
a
even
tough one to say ever.
Yeah. Best TV show ever, in my opinion. Funny, smart, violent, family, mental health, mafia, the time that it took place, just everything about it. And then, of course, I have I just think it's so good. Like, to me, when people are like The Wire or Breaking Bad, I'm like, dude, I don't know if anybody who has watched The Sopranos since watching those shows could have that opinion, because it's like when you watch those shows after, you're like, man, The Wire's pretty good. Breaking Bad's pretty fucking good. Blah, 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 blah. When you go back knowing what those shows were and watching The Sopranos, you're just like, it's better. Like, it's just so good.
It's a great show. Give us a ring, 310-359-8365. That is our hotline. Let us know what you guys think.
I have a bunch of comedy shows planned. Let's hope once the Saquon to the Eagles news settles in, that I'm okay. But next weekend, House of Comedy in Arizona. I've been there before. I know there's some dirt balls out there. If any of you dirt balls are there, and let me know if you're interested in maybe playing golf. Haven't decided if I'm bringing my clubs or not yet, but if somebody's down, it sounds like I'm going to hit a couple spring training games while I'm there. The following week, Jimmy Kimmel's Comedy Club, Friday and Saturday in Vegas. April 25th, Stamford, Connecticut. New York Comedy Club, Stamford. Get your tickets now. It's Thursday night. Pizza Star is going to be on the show. Our good friend from Venice, Bronson Jones, is going to be hosting the show. That'll be a really fun one. Lots of more comedy to come. If you're in or around the LA area this Thursday, I'm doing Eddie If's birthday show at Aviator Nation in Malibu. Lachlan's going to be on the show. Eddie's going to be on the show. The great Alan Havey's going to be on the show. But JoePrano.com for shows, at Joe Prano on Instagram, at Joe Prano on TikTok. Follow me all those places. But for you East Coasters, I'll say it again. April 25th, Stamford, Connecticut, headlining. Just a stone's throw from where I grew up. Come through.
Word. All right, guys, that's our show. Thanks for sticking with us. We'll be back on Thursday. Have a great start to your week. And as always, stay dirty.